course. There's two different. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm just checking the YouTube studio. Oh, there we are. So I have not. There you are. We'll do it like this, so we don't have the graphic in the background. Can I do it? Huh. I don't know why that graphic is in the way. Let me see.
The one with the Senators Canucks logos there?
Yes, I was just working on that to try to get it ready for this evening. Let me see if I can move it for a second. I'm just learning all of this, Duke, and so it's...
I like it better like that, where you're bigger and I'm smaller. That's all you. I like that even better. I don't want to see myself.
Why? At some point you'll...
I know.
At some point you'll have to. I'm just trying to get this. Oh, okay. I think I might be able to get it off. Okay, so... How do you like the logo there? Looks good.
It does look good. I like the little tagline below. Who created that one? Reviving sports talk in the city.
This is me. All me.
All you. Wow.
All me. I've gotten suggestions from people, but most of it is, almost all of it is me going to them, hey, do you like this? Do you like, what do you like? Okay. Well, that's good, because we're live and we got a lot to talk about. So we'll just go right into it here. It's nice to, you don't necessarily have to do like full show openings because we're already live. You know what I mean?
Okay. But I'm learning this technology.
Yes, but if people are watching live, they won't care right now. I don't think anybody is. I could probably even check to see if anyone is watching, and that is no. Current viewers 0. So there you go, 0, 0, 0.
Excellent.
But that's okay. This isn't for that, and in the future, I will probably record it so I can place it with some fancier graphics if I don't have all the graphics done and that sort of thing.
Is that where I'll have my name underneath in the
yes, it will
box? Oh yeah, I like that. Okay.
So what we're gonna do too, I don't know if you'll like this or hate this, but my friend Ben is a very, very good caricature drawer, and he puts out like these wrestling cards onto the internet, like for big cards, and he draws all the people. And he just puts it out, and then people actually give him money. He doesn't even ask. But we're going to do, like, everyone on the site will have a caricature drawn. So like when your like article or whatever is coming up with you or me or everyone, you'll see a caricature of our faces.
That's hilarious. Okay.
It is actually quite funny. So we'll just get going here.
Let's do it.
And joining us right now, which, by the way, I think is the name of the Daily Show.
Right now?
Yeah, right now.
Okay.
Still working on it, but we'll see. Right now, James Duke Ellingson joining us here on OSN. It is that time of year where if you are a football fan, it is the most incredible time of year. We have breaking news as we speak. There's a lot that's happened even in the last hour or two, but it's nice to be able to talk to you, James Duke Ellingson, and see your smiling face again. How are you?
I'm doing well, Lee. And, I was thinking of all the times, and maybe if we added them up, hours upon hours upon hours of working together. We have never done anything like this where there's a video to go with the audio. So now everybody will know why I have a face for radio. But it is good to see you as well in your home environment. And you just need to find some new toquewear, headwear,
right,
going forward.
That probably I will. I'll have 20 different Dallas Cowboy toques, and I will alternate them. So that will be good. Okay. And remember, Duke, yes, you are on video here, but 95% of all the people will be listening to you and not watching you, which I'm thankful
Excellent.
for as well.
Yeah.
The very first day I ever got the internship in radio, you were there. I called my father and he said, "You have a face for radio, so you will be just fine." That's literally the first thing he said to me.
There you go.
So I knew I was in good hands. Before we even talk about the games, and I think some of the things that have the big picture stuff, which is what we're going to do here on OSN. We're not necessarily going to break down every play and every score, but there's some really unique things that have happened this weekend in the NFL. But how about Mike Tomlin? 19 years,
Mm.
third ever coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers. They've only had 3 in their historic franchise. Mike Tomlin steps down today. Surprised?
I was not necessarily surprised that it happened. I'm quite surprised that it happened so quickly. You wonder how much of that was going on in the background conversations with the Rooney family, with the ownership group to talk about what's next. Maybe win or lose. Maybe this was going to happen potentially regardless. But one thing I did know for sure, or was pretty sure I knew for sure, was that the Rooney family was not going to fire their coach. They just don't operate that way. They don't listen to the outside noise of the fans or social media or sort of popular wisdom. They will do what they believe is right for their franchise. And I think a lot of it is that continuity and believing that in the long term, it's always going to work out for them. So I think it's pretty evident that they probably asked him if this was the right time. He agreed, and we'll have to see now where he goes and what he does. I know a lot of people think he'd be great on TV, probably will. But if he wants to coach, I think like John Harbaugh and maybe Kevin Stefanski, he can have a job tomorrow if he wants it.
Yeah. My next question was going to be, do you think that this was a firing? Just
Mm.
put out differently than a typical firing.
Yeah, I think that's maybe reading between the lines. I would say that they probably sat down and said, Mike, we think this is probably the right time for you to go. We'd rather not, optically have to say Mike Tomlin has been relieved of his duties. We'd love it if you agreed. I'm sure at the end of the day, he's probably tired of, the constant questions and the constant criticism from outside. Maybe not. Maybe he's one of these guys that's impervious to it. But at some point he's got to feel like maybe the run's over. And as much as I'd like to maybe be here my whole career, I'm still a relatively young man, and maybe there are some other pastures that I can go and experience and perhaps create a legacy somewhere else, like he's done in Pittsburgh.
Kevin Patullo, not a name that everyone knows in the NFL, but certainly Philadelphia Eagles fans know. The Eagles have fired their offensive coordinator in Kevin Patullo. Do you blame him, or is this more the responsibility of Nick Sirianni and the players for not doing what they've done previously?
Oh, I think it's Nick Sirianni's fault. And to me, you look at that Eagles offense all year long, and yes, they had injuries. Lane Johnson was out for a period of time, and lots of teams have injuries. But this offense was a problem, really, for 17, now 18 games. It was relatively predictable for whatever reason. They coached Jalen Hurts not to ever take a chance with the ball, and the run game wasn't what it was last year, and they had all of the drama that they normally have with AJ Brown. But really, if Nick Sirianni saw that there was a problem and the offense wasn't getting better, this should have been done long ago. I mean, I don't know why all of a sudden it takes one extra playoff game to decide you're firing the guy. I mean, he obviously was a part of the problem, but it's Nick Sirianni's job to identify as the head coach where there are problems and gaps, and you want to fail fast. If you make a mistake, fix it and go on. And maybe he should have taken over the play calling duties, whatever. But it's Patullo's job to make the offense work. He didn't do it, so he deserves to lose his job. But I'm just shocked that they just decided, okay, now finally, it's taken a playoff loss, at home to decide that he's not going to get the job done.
Yeah, it's so interesting. Even AJ Brown was saying, if we don't fix these things now in November, why would we ever be able to fix them in January? And clearly they were not able to fix them. As the news just keeps coming in, Greg Roman is the offensive coordinator of the Los Angeles Chargers. Mike Devlin is the offensive line coach, or they were also fired today. Now,
Wow.
I get it. In the most boring football game of all time in the history of the NFL, put up against all those exciting playoff games, the Chargers and the Patriots, I get why they fired those guys. So again, it does seem that these teams are scapegoating some of the people, Duke, that might be partially responsible. I will call it, for me, like partially
Mhm.
responsible. But I look at John Harbaugh or Jim Harbaugh and John too. They both look a little bit like they were a step behind. And Jim
Mm.
Harbaugh, I've never really gotten that sense, but I definitely got it this year. Uh, Again, it's like, okay, we go into the playoffs and we haven't been good. We haven't been good. And then we're not good in the playoffs. And then we fire somebody underneath the head coach. This seems to be a recurring pattern right now.
Mm. The Chargers were what, 11-6, I think, this year. I believe that
Yep.
was their record. So, I mean, it's a pretty good record. And to me, if you lose your two starting offensive tackles for almost the whole season, it's really tough to fix that. It's really tough to find, legitimate NFL level replacements for those kinds of players, one of whom they brought in as a free agent. So again, Justin Herbert was the most sacked and the most hit quarterback in the NFL all season long. It was exacerbated in the playoff game against a good defense, but I don't know how you blame the offensive line coach for that. I blame the offensive coordinator more, and I blame Jim Harbaugh more, especially in that playoff game. I mean, you saw it, Lee. I mean, every single passing down, the Patriots showed blitz, lined up 8 guys, 7 guys at the line of scrimmage, and blitzed every play.
Yep.
Every play. And as an offensive coordinator, head coach, you got to have an answer to how are we going to combat this, whether it's, quick hit screen, get the ball to the quarterback's hands, run something, screen, whatever you want to do. But it just like they just left Herbert back there, the same route combinations. He was trying to, find guys, run around. He got hit time and time again, 6 sacks. That's on the offensive coordinator. So to me, not such a big surprise that Greg Roman gets, shown the door. But to me, blaming the offensive line coach for a patchwork offensive line really isn't fair.
What's the best job available right now of the nine jobs that are available in the NFL of 32 teams? It's incredible.
Well, I think you have to ask, or I have to ask you, or ask anybody, what's the criteria you're using? I mean, because there's a couple criteria that I think are pretty legit. One is, the type of the franchise you're going to. I mean, a lot of people would say maybe the most successful, maybe perhaps not just by Super Bowl wins, but very close, are the Pittsburgh Steelers. Who would not want to coach for that iconic franchise? Same with the New York Giants, a pretty good place to land as far as, you know, top 5 upper echelon blue chip NFL programs. However, if you're talking about who's there to coach and what's the level of the personnel, to me, it's without question the Baltimore Ravens. I mean, you've got a guy there that's 2-time MVP as a quarterback, maybe could have won it last year. Yes, he's never gotten them over the hump, but there's not many guys more talented and still in his prime. They still have some good pieces around him, and that franchise has been pretty consistent. I'd like to go there if I'm a well, I was gonna say if I'm an offensive minded coach, I'd probably want to go there if I'm a defensive minded coach to have Lamar Jackson on the other side of the ball. So to me, I would say Baltimore. And then if I look a little bit beyond that from a across the board young talent, maybe I think about the New York Giants. Jackson Dart, jury's maybe a little bit out, but I think he's got tons of upside, as does Scattaboo when he gets back, and Neighbors, the wide receiver, very good young talent and offense. So, and again, you're in the biggest market in the world, so that's not a bad place to land either.
So I disagree with you a little bit. You know me, I like to push back
Hmm.
a little bit.
Please do.
Um, so I probably agree with you just on the track record. Like it's actually unbelievable that Chuck Noll, Bill Cowher, and Mike Tomlin have been the only 3 head coaches in Pittsburgh Steelers history. Like, if you want job security, do you think the
Hmm.
Steelers are going to fire a coach after one bad year, like next year?
Hmm.
Especially looks like right now without a quarterback. And did they even have one in that game last night? I'm not sure. Uh, But bye-bye, Aaron. We won't miss you.
We will not miss you.
No, like not one bit. Uh, so job security and knowing that you have the proper ownership around you to long-term build, I might even put Pittsburgh right at the top of the heap.
Mhm.
My fear with Baltimore would be exactly what you said. Yes, you have the most talented player, but right now they say he is very, very involved in the head coaching search, Lamar
Mhm.
Jackson, and he'll never get the blame. And the expectations in Baltimore would be sky high. I don't feel like the head coach of the Ravens is going to get multiple years to try and figure this out. It might be a year or two. Yeah, you'd have a better chance to be better.
Mhm.
I
Quicker.
might I might go down a little bit. I don't trust the Giants ownership at all. Like not even a little bit. So while they have Jackson Dart and while they are a storied franchise, I kind of like the Atlanta Falcons.
I was gonna mention them as a third potential landing spot. That's pretty good.
Just because I think, their ownership will have some patience. They've just brought in Matt Ryan to be the president, and that he'll be involved in finding the right people, especially at the quarterback position, whether that's Michael Penix Jr. or not. He will be involved, and I feel like you're going to get a good chance. And I mean, if Penix is the guy, if you think he's the guy, and Bijan Robinson is the best running back in the game, that's a pretty good start with a new kind of ownership and way of looking I guess ownership with the way of looking at things by bringing in Matt Ryan. They have to find a head coach. I think you're going to get a good opportunity to grow with a talented roster. So I would probably put
Mhm.
Pittsburgh and Atlanta at the
Yeah.
top of my list. I think we can both agree, Duke, that the Raiders are at the bottom.
Raiders are at the bottom, and yeah, and Cleveland. No, I was going to just add to the Atlanta comment, which I think is good. I mean, not only do they have Penix and Robinson, but they got Kyle Pitts at tight end. They got
Yeah.
Drake London as a and again, you don't win because you have skill players. You win on the offensive and defensive lines, and they do have a couple of young defenders that they drafted that started this year and got a lot of experience. So yeah, that's a that's a good city. I think a good sports city. You're playing in a beautiful new a dome. You don't have to worry about the bad weather, all that kind of stuff. Not a bad place. Temperature, all that stuff. Yeah, you know what? You've sold me. I'll move Atlanta up
Okay.
to my third
Now,
third spot.
what was your favorite part of NFL weekend? Was it the Packers losing and then the Eagles, or was it the Eagles losing and then the Packers? Which one was it? Like, I want to know the order. I
Okay.
feel like no matter what, Duke, you're going to come up with the right answer because this was like a Super Bowl weekend for me. It was incredible.
It's funny when we're sports fans of a particular team. Not only does our love run deep, but our hatred runs as deep for for the division rivals or whatever team you have a particular reason to hate because they knocked your team out in key spots. And you're a great example of that. I mean, you just pointed out, obviously, division rival in the Eagles and Green Bay, who I think has been heartburn for the Cowboys in the playoffs a couple of times I can think of in the last 10 years. But no, I don't have that much angst in me. Now, if it
It's
was
a
Kansas,
joy. I think you're misrepresenting this. It was a pure joy to watch them lose. There was no hate involved. It was
if it was,
awesome.
if it was the Kansas City Chiefs, I would be right there with you. I'm just so thankful that we don't even have to worry about them in the playoffs.
Right.
I mean, to me though, and I hate to tell you, well, I guess I don't hate to tell you because it knocked the Packers out. The story of the weekend for me was the Chicago Bears and that comeback. I mean,
Yeah.
Caleb Williams, I think 6 times this year has come back in fourth quarters or overtime in the regular season, which is a record. And he's only in his second year. And I just thought when they came out at halftime, I thought they're not going to dig themselves out of this one. It's too hard. Division rival, all those things, cold weather, first playoff game for your quarterback and your coach, just ain't happening. And then they did it. They all of a sudden stopped Green Bay 4 straight drives, start the second half, got on a bit of a roll, especially in the fourth quarter, and Caleb Williams made some just unbelievable plays. It was just an unreal story for that franchise, and especially when you could see how quiet Soldier Field was going into the third quarter. And if I had to place a bet, it wouldn't have been on the Bears winning that game.
Yeah, down 21-6 in the fourth quarter and found a way to win 31-27. I think one of the surprises for me this weekend was how good some of the teams that I didn't think were up to that level. Like Chicago, quite frankly, as much as I don't like Green Bay, I didn't think that they were there. And through three quarters, they weren't with 6 points, but they did find a way. In the other game, boy, Carolina gave the
Mm,
Rams everything they can handle and more, and had a real shot to win that game if Matt Stafford, doesn't lead the team down in the final couple of minutes. Is that like, what did you take out of that game? Was it the fact that the Rams are, hardened and tough? Are they not as good as you thought going up against Carolina, or are the Panthers just a better team than some of us think?
Well, I think first of all, I saw that Puka Nacua is uncoverable. That guy is absolutely unbelievable. I think he had 18 targets in that game. 18 targets and 11 catches for whatever it was. He's just remarkable.
With all the analytics, not to cut you off, but
Yep.
it's my show, I will.
Yeah. I could always hang up too, just
You could,
FYI.
but
Yeah.
then I would just wax on anyway about this kind of stuff. And so, no, there's a metric out there that it's a very confusing metric because there's so many things that it takes into consideration. But other than the quarterbacks, it was not even close with this metric with all the things that they take in as far as, blocking and, running other people out of the way so you can
Mm,
open up zones, not only your catches and your touches, but that Puka Nacua is by far the most valuable
mm.
person on any NFL team other than the quarterback. Like, it's not close, to your point.
That's I had no idea. I mean, but when you watch him and you see him doing everything right, and it's a good point, not just about when he runs the routes or catches the balls and the yards after catch and how hard he is to bring down, but blocking and making sure he's in the right spot, doing the right things. That's an interesting stat. No, I mean, going into the playoffs, I think it was pretty evident as you looked across the league this year that there was no one standout team that just had everything humming, offense, defense, injuries, everything. There was nobody that was looking unbeatable, and I think there were every team that was in the playoffs, maybe with the exception of the Steelers, had a legitimate chance, I think, to win at least one game. Yes, Carolina was a big underdog, but they'd beaten the Rams a couple of weeks ago, and yeah, they gave them all they can handle. I was most impressed with Bryce Young because I thought he got off to such a shaky start. I could see that game going sideways very quickly, and he really kind of rallied. I just don't know about him. He's just so small. He's so slight. I don't know. I just don't see him scaling to that kind of level of a Mahomes, Allen, whatever. But boy, oh boy, he played hard and played tough, and they got a good roster there. I didn't like Canalis's. I know the aggressiveness of coaches now on fourth down is getting to the point where it's almost you're surprised when they don't go for it.
Mhm.
But when he went for it in the first drive of the game there on his own 40-yard line, I thought that was just way too, to me, way too almost reckless. But no, they hung in there, and they played better than the Chargers, and they played better than the Steelers. So pretty impressed with them. And the Rams, you hit the nail on the head with Matt Stafford and Sean McVay. I don't think you're ever out of a game, and I think they oozed confidence the way they looked going down the last 2-minute drive. I felt like
Mm.
it was inevitable they were going to score. They didn't put themselves in any long second and 20 situations, and maybe they scored even too quick. But that's a good team, and I think they're going to give Chicago fits on Saturday night.
So let's talk about scoring too quick. The Buffalo Jacksonville game was an incredible, incredible football game. And I think, you know, in another world, the Jacksonville Jaguars are still alive, but they had to go up against Josh Allen and the Bills. So painting the scenario that the Buffalo Bills were down for, they did a tush push kind of on fourth and half a yard, and they end up getting 10 yards, like down to they called it a touchdown, which I always think, everybody I'm watching the games with is like, that's not a touchdown. I'm like, but if you call it a touchdown,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
then it's going to be automatically reviewed. If you don't call it a touchdown,
Yep.
then what happens if he got in? And
Mm-hmm.
you can't do anything about it. And so again, it's nice being just smarter than everybody else when you're watching a game. So it's I love having these conversations. But so the Bills had a minute 5 on the clock at the half yard line, first and goal. Jacksonville, no timeouts. The Bills elected to try to score. The Jags elected to let them score
Mhm.
to get the ball back. Would you have done the same thing if you were Sean McDermott and the Buffalo Bills?
I think the very first thing as a coach you have to determine is, do I have Josh Allen as my quarterback? There's a couple guys in the league that I mean, short of a fumble of the snap itself, it's inevitable that he's going to score. And Josh Allen is one of those guys. And I think the other criteria you always have to look at between, does the other team have any timeouts, and are we in a shootout here? And is our defense capable of getting a stop? All of those things have to run through your mind. You know what the Jacksonville Jaguars decided was, we can't stop him, so we're not going to bother because we need the ball. And so they just let him score. I definitely, because it was Josh Allen, I definitely would have kneeled down at least once, let 40 seconds run off. You had your own timeouts to stop the clock if you needed it. But it was inevitable they were going to score. And I get it. I know they probably had flashbacks to last year when Allen missed, I think, 2 4th-and-1s that he didn't get against Kansas City. So I'm sure there was some of that. But when the defense lets you score, it tells you how um, likely it was that you weren't going to. And so I
Right.
would have kneeled if I was Buffalo, and I think Jacksonville did the right thing.
But I guess see the question for me is like he absolutely should have not gone in on the first time and had 3 shots, second, third, and fourth down with timeouts to be
Hmm.
able to push into the end zone, and you would have killed almost all of the time on the clock at that point.
Yep.
My only weird thing about this is that teams like you can't go back and kneel because if you go to the 2 or 3 yard line,
Hmm.
now it's actually I'm not sure if you're
Yeah.
going to get
Right.
in. Now, I would
It
think you
lowers
would
the
get in.
percentage.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
that weird have you ever practiced like not scoring, but also gaining that half yard and making sure that you're back down to the 1 or the half yard line? In that spot, that's a weird thing to ask. And I
Hmm.
wonder if that part of it was like, I am not going to confuse Josh Allen here. If I'm the head coach, I'm just going to get him to do what he does
Yeah.
in a big moment.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't, you couldn't ask for a bigger moment or a more difficult quandary to put your team in. But, and it's an interesting point. You got to think over the course of an entire off season, all the weeks during the regular season when they go through special situations in practice and all of those, what if clock management, when do we spike it, all those things, that this has come up. And I think you're right. I think the challenge is, how do you as a football player, as a quarterback, ensure you have enough forward momentum so that you literally don't back up without actually crossing the goal line? If you have too much forward momentum, is it impossible to stop yourself from falling into the end zone? If you remember the Super Bowl, the Giants in New England, the second time that the Giants beat New England late in the game, similar situation. The Giants are on about the 5 yard line, and Belichick told the defense to let, can't remember the running back's name, score.
Yeah.
He went barreling to the goal line, realized what they were doing, tried to stop himself, and fell in and crossed the plane. So it's not as easy as it sounds to just stop yourself. But yeah, I mean, have they practiced something like that? Maybe not. Have they talked about it? Perhaps. I would think most coaches in their heart of hearts would say, I'm not screwing around. I'm going to
Right.
get the ball in the end zone.
Just to further that for a second, my thought would be go to the referee and make sure that they know what you are trying to do so
Hmm.
that they don't like mark you at the 2 yard line or somewhere back there because they see you go to the ground. I know they're supposed to do their job, but
Hmm.
that to me would be I am telling all of the line judges
Yeah.
exactly
Mhm.
what we're trying to do so that I'm trying to get close, but not in.
Yeah. And I know coaches always go to worst case scenarios. And could you imagine, let's just say in that situation that the Bills did decide they were going to do that, and maybe one of their offensive linemen just
Right.
flinched and jumped, and now you're back at the 6 yard line or the
Yep.
5.5 yard line, and now it's a whole different story. So
It's a
I
really good point.
understand, get the ball in the end zone, deal with the ramifications afterwards. And again, let's just say this was the Steelers Houston game last night, and the exact same situation happened after all that had gone on for 59 minutes or whatever. Do you think that the Texans would be worried about giving Aaron Rodgers a minute and a half? No, right? They'd stopped him, and they hadn't scored a touchdown all night. Whereas Jacksonville, at least Trevor Lawrence had, had some success and moved the ball and put some points up. So I could see why they would be concerned about it.
Well,
So you got to know who's the quarterback on the other side of the ball, and what's the likelihood of him taking his team down in a minute and a half or 40 seconds versus 10 seconds.
right. But they also had I think Brandon Aubrey's better, but they also had the guy who has the 2 longest field goals in NFL history on the
Yeah.
other side, right? So like honestly, Jacksonville, yeah, they threw the pick and it bounced off the receiver and they got lucky, the Bills did, but
Yep.
they really only needed from where they were like 20 yards, 25 yards, and they were in somewhat of field goal range. So
Yep.
more than likely, almost all teams in that spot are going to get that and at least attempt a field goal. I think Buffalo got really lucky, but it's a spot where I'm not sure that we've seen before. Before we go, I'm going to give you these 3 things, and you're going to rank them in order of most impressive.
Okay.
Josh
How about
Allen.
you? How about you and I doing this on video? This is pretty impressive. Is that one of the options?
I had enough light in here, plenty, and as it's getting darker, I haven't
You are
turned my lights
disappearing on
on,
me.
and I am getting
I can't see you
darker
anymore.
and darker. But
I
the 3 things are Josh Allen in the last 2 minutes of the game, Matt Stafford in the last 2 minutes of the game, or the Houston Texans defense over the course of the entire game.
Well, that's a really good question. Let me ponder for a moment. I'm thinking if I go maybe in reverse order, I would say of those 3 to me, and to say the least impressive is not fair, but ranking them third. I would say that it was the Texans defense because it's pretty much what they've been doing all year. So nothing that was sort of new or different. And secondly, it was against an absolutely anemic and pathetic offense led by a over the hill quarterback who showed his age last night. So I don't think that's not what they would do against a different offense. So I'm going to put them third. I'm going to put Matt Stafford second only because he had, sounds funny to say, he had less to do. He only had to get back, take the snap, find the open man, which was fairly easy at some point, and make a good throw. He did not have to worry about running behind a weak offensive line, doing Josh Allen things. To me, what makes Josh Allen so special is at some point, it's almost like he is the only reason that your team is in a position to win. And what he did on the last couple of drives, both with his arms and his legs, is just to me very, very impressive. I worry about his health. I worry about all the things that are wrong with him right now, and I worry about him going to Denver and that altitude in 6 days. But yeah, for me, all in, given what he had to work with and how much versatility he has to show, he's top of the heap.
Love it. Quick thought on Drake May and your Patriots winning and advancing.
Houston, we have a problem. I'm very worried, honestly, and not just because I'm a Pats fan. Well, it is because I'm a Pats fan. That's why I'm worried. No, they're legitimately. This morning, I heard a couple guys on the way into work on ESPN saying that you can really start to think about them in the same breath as the '85 Bears and the 2000 Baltimore Ravens defenses in terms of their level of domination at all levels. And so I think they held teams to 20 points or less all but 4 games this year. One of them was the last game of the season when they really didn't have much to play for. I think the Patriots are going to have to play a very clean game. Drake May is going to have to be way better than he was on Sunday night. And they're not going to be. And at least the one thing that's good for the Patriots right now is I don't think if Nico Collins doesn't play, I think the Texans will have to be pretty one-dimensional in the run game, and that'll at least help from a defensive perspective. But no, that if New England can get to 20, I think they can win, but I'm not sure they can get to 20.
Well, we enjoyed your January Madness column.
Thank you.
On OSN. Thought it was tremendous. Maybe we'll get lucky enough to talk to you for 10 minutes before the games of the weekend, but it is nice to have you a part of Ottawa sports now, and I might say, you're looking good.
You are, your fake enthusiasm is shining through, but I do appreciate it. It's kind of cool to be in on the ground floor of something like this, and I'm looking forward to anytime we can talk football together. It's a good day. So thanks.
James Duke Ellingson, of course, we'll hear a lot from Duke as it goes on. That is your look on football right now here on OSN.